What is going on? It is Voodoo here, and welcome to another Voodoo's Verdict. That's right, it's time to review another video game, and today we are going to be taking a look at a game that I am really happy to be doing a review of. It's a game that I've been waiting for around about 3 years, since the last installment of this series came out in early 2010. It's the latest entry to what is, and still is after playing this game, my favorite franchise of all time in video gaming. And of course, as you saw by the intro, today we are going to be talking about the third installment to the Bioshock franchise, Bioshock Infinite. Now, this is actually the alternate cover to the game. I have this as my cover because I actually like it more than the original cover that they put with the game. And I actually voted for this cover on the Irrational Games forums when they opened up a poll for the alternate cover. So I have the alternate cover of the game on. This is the back of the alternate cover. So this is Bioshock Infinite. It is from Irrational Games and creative director Ken Levine, which is the team that basically worked on Bioshock 1. At least Ken Levine is. And you know, he didn't do Bioshock 2, so there was a lot of controversy, a lot of negativity surrounding Bioshock 2. A lot of it undeserved, I think, but whatever the case may be, there was a lot of negativity around the game. But he came back and put together a team at Irrational to make Bioshock Infinite. So, what is Bioshock Infinite? What is the generalized plot that I can give you about this game? Of course, as always, spoiler-free. Well, you start off the game as a man named Booker DeWitt, and when you start the game, you have a job to do. Basically, you are to go to this flying city of Columbia and to extract a girl from there named Elizabeth that you are then to bring back to Earth in exchange to wipe away some sort of debt that you have accrued in your lifetime. And so your job is to go get this girl. And, of course, you go up to Columbia, and as you progress through the game, obviously, the plot becomes a lot heavier, a lot thicker than just go get this girl. Once you start running into all the characters of Columbia, its enigmatic leader, this man, Comstock, and the rebel faction that basically opposes him and his soldiers on Columbia, called the Vox Populi, and their leader Daisy Fitzroy, who the Vox Populi are basically made up of minorities, blacks, Asians, that kind of thing, because Comstock and the culture of Columbia is extremely racist. It's all about racial purity with, you know, the pure white race and all this other kind of stuff. So the Vox Populi, the rebels, are mainly made up of minorities. And as you continue through the game and you run into Elizabeth and you team up with her, the plot of the game becomes insanely, you know, thick with content. It basically becomes a lot more than just getting Elizabeth and bringing her back. And that's really the most generalized I can make it without spoiling anything. But just know that the plot of the game is really substantial, it's really good, and you know, what starts out as seemingly a simple plot gets twisted and convoluted in all sorts of ways, you know, as you progress. So, first of all, let's talk about the environment of Columbia, because again, this is another utopian city from the mind of Ken Levine, who made Rapture. So, you know, what is the city like? Well, I'm here to tell you that I found the city to be fantastic, creative, immersive. Still, I don't believe to the point of Rapture. I think Rapture has really set the bar to a point that no other game will really reach, simply because, you know, of what it meant at the time. It was the first time we'd ever seen anything like this. And so, even though I don't find it to be as immersive and amazing as Rapture was, that by no means is a knock against this game. I don't think that anything could reach the pinnacle that Rapture did because of what it did in its time. But the city is vibrantly colored. The colors in this game are amazing. You know, it's again inventive, creative. It's a city that, just like Rapture, you're gonna want to explore. You're gonna want to wander all around the city, see everything that you can see, and take it all in. It's really a visual experience, an audio experience. Going through this game in the city of Columbia is a complete sensual experience that is really fantastic. So I just want to get that out of the way first. But let's talk now about the gameplay of Bioshock Infinite. The core, very basic combat of the game is similar to the first two Bioshocks, in which you will have a weapon, obviously a gun of some sort, and you will have, in this game, they are called Vigors. And that's basically what the plasmids are in this game. They're called Vigors, and they run off of something called salts, which is, again, the equivalent of what Eve was in the first two Bioshocks. And the combat, you will be using a combination of these Vigors and your weapons to fight a wide array of enemies, from just normal grunt enemies to these giant, what they call motorized patriots, which are these big robot versions of like George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and stuff like that, who have miniguns. You'll be fighting these enemies called handymen, who are these guys in these huge mechanical suits that are very powerful, that will come and fight you. You'll fight machines like turrets, things like that. Guys called firemen, who obviously are able to use fire abilities. So that's pretty much the core gameplay. Now you can also combine these Vigors. For instance, there's a Vigor in the game that lets you shoot a murder of crows out of your hand, and you can do that, and then you can use electricity on the crows, and they'll become electric crows, and they'll fly all around and hit enemies, and not only damage them by hitting them, but they will shock them. There's 8 Vigors in the game. There's a couple of them that are similar to the plasmids from the first two Bioshocks, but the majority of them are completely different and inventive. I don't want to spoil for you what all the Vigors are, in case you want to be surprised by some of the Vigors. But they're different. They're creative. Again, you can use them in combination. Really cool. All the Vigors, you have the ability to set traps with them. In addition to just using them, they all have some kind of trap function, which is really neat. So the core combat of the game is similar to the first two Bioshocks, but it's still different because of the different Vigors. There's quite a lot of different guns in this game. There's more guns in this game than any other Bioshock, for sure. I don't know how many different guns, but there's probably upwards of 15 to 20 different weapons that you can use in the game. Maybe not 20, but probably closer to around 15 different weapons you can use, which is quite a lot. Now, in addition to just the core combat, there's obviously other elements to the combat, and one of the ones that has been highly publicized around the release of this game and shown in a lot of trailers and gameplay, and that is the Skyline system. And you have this tool called the Skyhook that lets you jump from these hooks, and also lets you go along these skylines. And at points in the game, you will be fighting in these kind of open areas where you kind of have free movement around the area to fight wherever you want to fight. And they'll have these skylines that run all through and around the battle area. So what you can do is you can actually hop up on these skylines, and you can ride around through the city, up and down around the battlefield, fighting enemies from the skyline, shooting down upon enemies. You can actually jump off of the, you can target an enemy, you can jump off the skyline and do a melee strike with your skyhook that most of the time will instant kill the enemy. Sometimes when you're on the skyline, enemies will jump up on the skyline with you, and they'll start chasing you or riding the skyline with you. You can accelerate your speed on the skyline. You can also completely stop and flip and go the opposite direction. So when these guys jump on the skylines, you can accelerate up to them, and you can do a strike with your other hand, I guess, the one that's not holding the skyhook, and you can actually knock them off the skyline and plummet them to their death. So the skyline is really cool, and there were a couple of fights where I mainly just rode on the skyline, shooting at enemies from the skylines and jumping off and meleeing enemies and jumping back on, and it was really awesome, really creative, and unlike anything I've ever done in a game before, that's for sure. Now, the other aspect to the gameplay is Elizabeth herself, and you team up with her pretty early on in the game, and for most of the game the two of you are together, and she is probably one of, if not the best AI teammate I have ever played with in any video game, because she does a variety of different things. Firstly, she will, as you're going through Colombia and you're looting stuff and you're finding money and things like that, a lot of times as you're looting, she will find additional money that she will flip your way and give you. So she'll give you extra money a lot of times. Other times, you know, when you, well, I should talk a little bit about who Elizabeth is and what she can do, which isn't a spoiler because everybody knows from the trailers and such, but Elizabeth has the ability to open up these things called tears, which are basically these portals into alternate dimensions across space and time. And when she discovers she's able to do this, she really helps you in terms of combat, because when you go into a combat area, there'll be areas around the map or the combat area that she can open up tears, and she might be able to open up a tear that sets up an automated turret, or she can open up a tear to give you your very own motorized Patriot. She can open up tears to give you specific weapons. She can open up tears to medical supplies and things like that during the battle. Now, she can only open one of these at a time, but it's extremely cool and unique, the ability to have her with you, and you can look around and see these tears, and you can tell her to open a tear that'll give you a turret or whatever, and it'll give you an advantage in the fight. Also, during fights, as you're fighting, you'll run low on things like health, you know, salts, things like that, ammo, and during the fight, she will go around and try to find supplies, and oftentimes when you run low on a certain thing, a prompt will pop up where you can hit X and she will throw you, well, I say X, it's on the Xbox, but she will throw you supplies that you need. So if you're running low on health, she'll throw you a health kit. If you're running low on ammo, you know, she'll throw you some extra ammo that you need, which is also really helpful and really cool. You do not have to protect her in combat, so basically the game is not one large escort mission, which people might have been concerned about in the past, that, oh god, is the whole game going to be this giant escort mission, because, face it, no one likes escort missions in games. Nobody. Well, it's not, because she doesn't have health, she can't die. So she basically runs and hides during combat, so you don't have to worry about protecting her, which is awesome, because it could have made the game really boring if you had to run around and protect her the whole game. But you don't have to do that. So she's really cool and really helpful, and a really awesome AI partner. Now, outside of combat, what are some of the areas of the gameplay? Well, exploration is a huge part of Bioshock Infinite, as it was with the first two Bioshocks. There's a huge incentive for you to go around and explore the city of Columbia, and trust me, you're going to want to do that, because if not, you're going to miss out on a lot of stuff. So you can go around and explore. You will find voxophones, which are basically the audio logs of Bioshock Infinite. There are 80 of them in the game, and you are going to want to find as many of them as you can, because you learn so much about the backstory, just like the first Bioshock. You learn so much about the backstory, so much about different characters, and the plot and what's really going on the whole game through these voxophones. And you're really going to miss a ton of story, a ton of content. You really won't get the full game unless you go and find at least most of the voxophones, okay? So you're going to want to do that. There is another element of exploration that Elizabeth can also help you with, because she has the ability to pick locks, and you will find lock picks as you explore through the game, and there are many locks to pick throughout the game, and they might be locked doors that she can pick that give you, you know, a gives you access to an alternate area. She can also pick safes that will contain a lot of money and stuff like that. So you're going to want to go around and pick those locks. You know, in addition to finding supplies, these voxophones and stuff like that, a lot of the times you will find these things called infusions, which basically allow you to either boost one of three things: your salt capacity, your shield capacity, because you actually have a shield in this game, or your health capacity. And the infusions are really helpful to build up on them so that by the end of the game, you're a lot more powerful and you don't get owned as badly. So you're going to want to go around and explore to find those infusions, to find the voxophones, to find money, and really just to explore the world, explore the universe. This is a game that you're going to want to do exploration. It's a big part of the game, and a lot of times it's cool also with Elizabeth, because if you are about to miss something, a lot of times she will say it. Like, if you're about to miss a lockpick, she'll say, "Oh, I think there's a lockpick over here," and you go over there, and oh, sure enough. Or if there's a voxophone, she'll look at it and say, "Interesting, Booker, you should come, take a look at this," and you go over there and there's a voxophone. So that's really cool that she does that as well. There's also a few, probably 5 or 6 of these optional things where basically as you're exploring, there's 2 types. There's a code book and cipher combination, and there's a chest and a key combination. So as you're exploring, you may find this cipher written on the wall, and it's an optional goal to go around and explore and find the code book that opens that cipher. And I believe there's 3 of those, and there's 3 of the chest and key combos. So you'll go and find the code book, you'll come back to the cipher, and you'll decipher it, and it'll give you an optional area that will usually have an infusion or a voxophone. Same thing with the chest and key. You may explore and find the key or the chest, and you have to find the other, and you can unlock it to get more supplies and upgrades. So that's exploration is a big part of Bioshock Infinite. What else? Vending machines. There are 3 types of vending machines. There are, I remember 3. There's the dollar bill, which basically, you can buy your normal stuff, health, salts, ammo, things like that. There is a weapon upgrade vending machine. You don't have to find power to the people machines anymore. There's vending machines that you can actually buy upgrades to your weapons. And there is a vigor machine where you can either buy vigors or you can buy upgrades to your vigors. Each vigor has 2 upgrades that you can buy from this vending machine. So those are in the game. Now there's some elements from the first 2 Bioshocks that they have taken out. For instance, there is no more hacking. The hacking is gone. Also changed from the first 2 Bioshocks, you used to be able to accumulate health packs, excuse me, and Eve hypos, so that when you were running low, you could use one to replenish, your bar. Well, in this game, you can't do that. So if you're running low on health or low on salt, you have to go and find a health pack or some salts on the fly to refill them. You can't accumulate them. So that's kind of different. Again, the shield, just like a shield in any other game. When they start hitting you, your shield goes down and it'll recharge, but when it's broken, then they can start taking chunks of your health away. The reviving is very similar to the Vita Chambers, where basically Elizabeth will revive you, and you'll lose some money, but you will come back to basically where you were before you died. So that's pretty much the same. I'm trying to think, is there any other aspects to the gameplay that I'm leaving out? I talked about the Skylines, I talked about the exploration, I pretty much talked about everything there is to talk about. There's some other little things to find, like these viewfinders called kinetoscopes that you look through, and they're like these little short slideshow presentations that also give you some history about the city and stuff like that, and the people in the city. But overall, the game is really well made. The gameplay is fun. The environment is terrific. The character development is outstanding. Again, comparable to Bioshock 1. The character of Elizabeth, I found, was one of the best characters that I've played in a while. She was really, really well done. Not just her gameplay, but I mean her personality, her story, the things that she says, the way that she grows and develops through the game. You really, really get an emotional connection to Elizabeth throughout the game. You really grow to care about her as a character. You want to help her. You want to help her to discover the mysteries about herself and the city, and you want to help her, succeed through the course of the game. She's a really, really good character. The other characters in the game that you run into, like I said, are also very well done. The voice acting is superb. Really is outstanding. It's just really well done. The girl who does Elizabeth's voice is an amazing voice actor. She also has an amazing voice because she actually sings through the course of the game, and it's the same voice actress, and she's really good. So it's great. Of course, there's Songbird in the game, who you've seen in trailers and stuff like that, who is a really cool character in the game. That's one of the negatives I have to say, is I wish that there was more of Songbird in the game. There's really not as much of Songbird in the game as I was hoping there would be. But for when he is in the game, he's a really cool character. Everything's just done really, really well, alright? But, like every game, there are some negatives. It's not a perfect game. Albeit, not a lot of negatives, okay? One of the negatives I have with the game is the game does suffer, at least on console, from some really bad frame rate issues. And it doesn't happen that much, but it really happens when there's a lot of stuff going on the screen at one time, particularly towards the end of the game when you're basically in that final gauntlet. The frame rates kind of go in the shitter, and it's a shame because it makes it kind of hard to play, because it's like a slideshow, and I really don't like when there's frame rate issues, because we're so far in the generation of the consoles now that you really should be able to make a game that doesn't have these frame rate issues. This actually runs on the Unreal Engine, and I'm surprised, because most of the time when I play the Unreal Engine, it doesn't have these problems. I usually find a lot of frame rate problems on the Havoc engine, but this uses Unreal, and it still has a lot of frame rate issues when there's a lot of stuff going on the screen. So that's kind of a disappointment. Other negatives, I mean, I don't really know. There's not a whole lot of negatives with the game. I mean, there are, again, there's minor bugs and stuff where it won't allow you to pick up a certain weapon sometimes, or you can't pick up some money that's laying right in front of you. Stuff like that. There's another annoyance where you'll go to listen to a voxophone, and you'll be listening to it, and all of a sudden Elizabeth will start talking to you or something, and she starts talking and it completely drones out the voxophone. You can't hear what the voxophone is saying, so you completely miss it, so you have to go back and re-listen to the voxophone again to try to understand what it's saying. Which, is it a big deal? No. There's pop-in texture with the game at times. There's a lot of times where you'll load a new area and the textures won't load right, or it'll pop in, stuff like that, which is annoying. But no game-breaking bugs, nothing that's, my console never froze, it never, there really wasn't anything game-breaking about the bugs and stuff with Bioshock Infinite. Just checking my time real quick. Oh, I'm going kind of long here. But yeah, overall, I just need to make sure that, my camera doesn't stop recording on me randomly, but so there are some negatives. It's not a perfect game. Overall, however, it's definitely one of my favorite games that I've played in a long time. It's creative, it's new, it was worth the wait. Everybody should go play this game. Everybody should buy this game. It's a great game. It's superb. It's definitely going to be in the running for Game of the Year this year. Right now, it set the bar pretty high to beat. I'm not going to lie. Now, as far as gameplay, I don't really have an exact time for how long I played the game. It was probably, I'd say, about 10 to 11 hours after doing all this searching and all that other kind of stuff. I'm sorry, I have to keep checking it every now and then. Sometimes this thing stops recording and doesn't tell me, and I just keep rambling to nothing. But, the game does not have multiplayer, but it does have a 1999 mode that you can actually unlock to start the game with the Konami code, which is basically an intense version of the game that I'm actually going to go back and do a playthrough of 1999 mode on my own. So there is replayability. There's replayability to get all the audio logs and stuff if you didn't do that the first time. So for what it is, it's a tremendous experience, tremendous characters, Great gameplay, new and inventive gameplay, a new immersive world of Columbia. It's a fantastic game. It's not without a few flaws, like I said. It's not a perfect game, but it's really, really, really good. So my final score, my rating for Bioshock Infinite, I'm going to give the game a 9.25 out of 10. I thought it was that good. The plot, the universe, the story, all of that, you know, it leads up to one of the most mind-bending, exploding endings in all of video game history. It's absolutely nuts. But it's awesome at the same time when you wrap your mind around it and understand it. It's great. It's fantastic. It's a great play. Everybody should go pick up this game and play it. It's really good. 9.25 out of 10. Terrific entry into the Bioshock series. Okay? So thank you guys for watching this episode of Voodoo's Verdict. I hope you found it useful and informative to you. I am Voodoo51292. Thank you again, guys, and I will see you next time when I do another game review. So thanks, peace out, and go play Bioshock Infinite right now.